One of the toughest decisions a person can make is answering the call of God. If you're searching for answers and looking for advice, join us for Pathway to the Pulpit, hosted by Pastor Claude Cheatham, as he shares stories and life advice for those trying to become the person that God has called them to be. With numerous guests and tons of content to be shared, there's plenty of information to be learned. Join now and be a part of what God is trying to do in this season.
Grace and peace, love and joy from my Father. I'm Pastor Claude Cheatham, host for Pathways to the Pulpit. Man, this is a time of discovery and dialogue with our young preachers. Man, I'm so excited to be a young preacher, a millennial voice that gets to speak into our generation. It's so necessary and needed. It's really necessary because our generation needs voices that pour into each other. Man, we cannot go anywhere without each other, and we need each other to impact each other. And that's what Pathway to the Pulpit is. It's a time of discovery and dialogue to where young preachers will hear the wisdom of seasoned senior pastors that have traveled this path, that will be able to dig back on years of old and share their wisdom, share their experiences in their first church, share their wisdom throughout seminary, share their wisdom on how they manage life, how they manage their marriage, how they manage their personhood. This is really a time of discovery for our young preachers. How to manage sermon development. All of these things we will cover. Womanist theology. We will have times to where we will share with young preachers things that young preachers may not have heard. Pulpit decorum. All of these things we will share in Pathway to the Pulpit. And all we're missing is you. You got to join us. You don't want to miss these times of discovery and dialogue. The only thing that's missing is you. Look forward to having you. Good day, good day. I'm so excited to have you back with us again for Pathways to the Pulpit. I'm Pastor Claude Cheatham. I'm delighted and excited that we have had the opportunity to dialogue and grow together as a family. Each week we've had some incredible topics and presenters, pastors to share their wisdom. We heard Bishop John Guns, he shared on bivocational ministry, specifically those of which that are functioning in higher education as well. We had a segment where we spoke on women in ministry. Reverend Nicole Guns did a marvelous job sharing the importance and the place of women in the body of Christ, as well as Pastor Chris McKee shared with us on social justice. And we've got to be young preachers that focus in on the importance of social justice. And today I'm excited because we get the opportunity to share together on one of the most prevalent topics in our generation, and that's church planting. And I am incredibly delighted to have one that is a phenomenal preacher, pastor, teacher, is a graduate of Florida Memorial University and Virginia Union University, as well as Metropolitan Bishop for Global United Fellowship. I affectionately call him Uncle Bishop, but we're excited to have Bishop Leofric Thomas. Come on, let's celebrate. And thank you, man, for being here with me.
Bless you, son.
Glad
to be in your presence.
It's a delight to have you. You are a psalmist. You are a preacher. But most people don't know you as a church planter. And you planted an incredible ministry 23 years ago here in the great city of Jacksonville. And, as we share on church planting, I want to ask you, what influenced you to start the Open Arms Church?
What an incredible question. Open Arms was birthed out of controversy and adversity from the prior ministry I was pastoring. And in fact, the name Open Arms was a ministry within our ministry.
Wow.
It was the ministry to new disciples. We had such a great influx of new disciples. One of our members came and said, Bishop, we need something, pastor at the time, we need something to facilitate all these new people coming in. And so we started the Open Arms Ministry.
Wow.
As a
I didn't know that.
place of assimilation and adaptation for those who were coming. And once we went through the trial and tribulations of ministry differences, the Lord pressed upon my heart, you got a name to start this, because the Lord wouldn't let me leave. I mean, it was a terrible situation. Your father-in-law knows all about it. That I could have decided to go and candidate for other churches, which were looking, for pastors. But the Lord kept pressing upon me about that. I didn't allow this to happen for you to leave the city. I allowed this to happen because I have another remnant I need to raise up.
Wow.
And on my way home from the final time at that church, the Lord pressed upon my heart, you already got it.
Wow.
Open Arms.
Wow.
And that's how it got started.
Wow.
With the next night with 33 people.
Wow.
And the word spread, and by that Sunday, we ended up with over 600 people in the Paxson Middle School.
Wow.
And it's been a yearly progression ever since. And that's how we got to where we are.
Yeah.
And I think I told you once before that I'm almost at a disadvantage when it comes to start up churches, to be planted in a sense where you have to go and canvass the community. You got to see what the needs of the community are. Well, for me, I never missed a Sunday preaching.
Wow.
We started on that Tuesday night. Saturday morning, we were setting up, my home church, Abyssinia, gave me sound system, gave me cameras, everything I needed, organ, podium, and we sat up in the Paxson Middle School. And Saturday morning, it was about 75 people there. I didn't know they were coming. We had put radio information out. 75 people showed up.
Wow.
And many of the people from the former church came with us.
Wow.
And when I walked in Sunday morning, I wasn't expecting the choir to be on the stage.
Wow.
When I got there, the choir was up there, who was led by Troy Sneed, who was deceased now. And it was just ushers, everybody pitching in this new thing, calling itself Open Arms. And on that day, we had close to 400 people said, I'm a part of this.
Wow. Wow.
Yeah.
No, that's massive. I mean, you talked a little bit about the struggle in the transitioning period and really how God was able to do an amazing work in this transitioning process of birthing this new ministry. Right. I understand that, there are thoughts that ruminate and rupture in your mind. What were some of your thoughts before starting this church?
I guess I was very passionate about what we were getting ready to do. I didn't see anything negative. All I know, I was driving, let's roll. I see the road, let's get on, let's get it going. Let's jump in there and let's make it what it's gonna be. And God did the rest, man. I just kind of said, this is what God is saying to me. And persons grabbed a hold to the vision. And God has been blessing ever since. And even though we've had some challenges along the way, there's no ministry that don't have some sort of challenge. But the Lord has been faithful to us, and that's because one of the things I drive home as a pastor is discipleship. We are called to make disciples. And so not just to grab a hold of church members or persons.
Talk a little bit about that. That's big. That's a big statement.
Yeah, but that's what Jesus said. He said, go and make disciples, which means if disciples are making disciples, we will always have disciples being made, which is kind of crazy. If disciples keep making disciples, you'll always have disciples being made, which means that those who are serious about their faith, serious about their trust in Jesus, have been convicted of their sins and are committed to the kingdom building, they begin the process of becoming a strong disciple. And those disciples share the good news with others and the place they're being fed. And that's what happened to us. People just kept spreading the news. We stepped out of a denominational ministry to non-denomination. There is no restraints on us now. There is no governing board to tell the man of God how to lead the people of God. So And I'm still a stickler for that, Claude. I still press and push our people that this is a ministry of discipleship. If you're not going to be committed, don't make yourself miserable.
Yeah.
Because, and even with with the pandemic going on, and we did extended things to keep the membership in discipleship mode with life groups and the other ministries meeting together and having Zoom calls and talking about the word, developing them, even though they have been away from the church. Now they are coming back. In fact, when the pandemic started, we never shut down. We at first we had our essentials and doing the worship, but I always did worship from the sanctuary every Sunday. And what would happen, people would trickle in. They'd sit all the way from each other, the mask on.
Right. Scared, but still there.
But the ones that came didn't act like they were scared.
Really?
They came to church. You know what I'm saying? So I never had to preach to the camera by myself for a Sunday service. It was always somebody there.
Wow.
They kind of assisted, and I enjoyed it, man, because I know those who came really wanted to be there. And we're seeing that now.
Wow.
Those that are coming back, I don't have to press so hard, to try to get them to be in worship where I need them to be, but they come in with worship in their mind. Why? Because they've been discipled.
Yeah, that's a big word.
Yeah.
That's a big word, discipleship. Of course, in making this decision, there had to have been a defining moment of peace that came over you in making this decision. Let's talk a little bit about the peace of the decision that came over you in making that, knowing that this was God's move.
It happened before we started.
Wow.
I was preaching on a Sunday morning at the former church, and all of a sudden the Lord spoke to me while I'm preaching and said to me, "Will you trust me?" I heard
Wow.
it just, I'm like, huh? Will you trust me? And right there, the congregation will tell you, I said, "Yes, sir, I'll trust you. I'll trust you." And from that point on, it looked like things got worse, but things are really getting better.
Wow.
So throughout the whole process, I was at peace with it. I wasn't nervous. I wasn't afraid. I just trusted God, and God has honored our faith. And I think it was Bishop Victor Carey says that God honors faith and faith honors God. And
Wow.
I took that phrase and kind of walked it through for my own personal being, so that I wouldn't get frustrated or depressed or down if the ministry wasn't moving forward fast enough. Again, I trusted God. I heard God in that pulpit that Sunday morning, and I said yes. And so I've tried to impress that upon the persons God have allowed me to pastor, that we have to learn how to trust God, even down to our finances. My family trusted God. We went on love offering, and we still on love offering.
Wow.
Because 23 years later, it's by the love gifts that the people give to us for a salary. I've never received a salary check.
Wow.
It's always been the love gifts of our congregation.
That's big, and I want to dive more into that. So trusting God. I mean, that's big. I mean, you had to trust God to walk this work out, and even through the trial, you made a decision to trust God. Was there a moment to where you worked a job in the process, or is that something you would recommend for a church planner? What would you say in that regard?
Well, because the dynamics of our ministry was so different. I had a church the first day, so my family laughs at me all the time because my son and daughter, they're in corporate ministry, corporate business. My wife has worked in corporate America. I've never worked on a job.
Wow.
It has always been in ministry. Even when I was in college in Florida Memorial, I was working in a ministry. When I got back home from graduating, I was working in Abyssinia. And when I went to Virginia, I was working in a church that embraced me, and my mentoring pastor, A. Lincoln James, made sure, and the congregation made sure I was well taken care of. And then from that point on, I went to my first pastorate. One of the things I want to share, Claude, is that one of the things that have been a defining moment, has been a foundation for me, is that I've tried to never allow my ambition to outweigh my assignment.
Wow.
That's
a
key.
big statement.
Never let your ambition outweigh your assignment. Get to know, discover your assignment, and do that well. And along the way, you have ambitious things. And all of us have ambitions, but you'll know how to govern that and don't get frustrated when your ambition doesn't work. But if I'm in my assignment, I have to trust God in that totally.
Right.
Because that's what he sent me to do.
Right.
I was called to be a disciple, but I was sent to lead God's people as a shepherd. Wow. And so I have to trust his leading. Wow. That's what David said when he said, the Lord is my shepherd. He was really saying that even though I'm a shepherd with these sheep, I'm following a shepherd from heaven who guides and governs. And I parallel, David was really saying, I parallel my journey, with the journey that God has given me for leading the sheep. My journey with him is trusting him, leading me beside still waters to green pastures, setting the table in front of my enemies, that kind of stuff. So that's really the gospel in a nutshell for me, that my assignment must always be in front.
Wow. So when we're talking about assignment and really walking in purpose, was there ever a moment to where you were vacillating and wondering if you made the wrong decision?
No. My life has been ministry. And I recognize that in early life, that I'm in the earth, even though it took me a while to get to it because I was trying to do everything else. But I recognize that God always kept me, covered me, put me in places so that I could be nurtured and nourished. I grew up in my grandfather's house, who was the pastor of Abyssinia before the Diamonds. And I saw how he, pastored that congregation, not knowing that some of that is seeping into me. Right. So when I got my first church, the first church I was out to pastor, some things just came natural. It's kind of like my musical career. Some things just came natural, and I've never had a moment of doubt with this. I've always saw God doing greater things.
Wow. Mm-hmm. Wow. Yeah. No, I mean, that's amazing. That speaks to the consistency that the young preacher must have, that trusting the assignment, that if you believe that God laid on your heart to birth, to plant, you trust the assignment, even if the finances or things don't look how you want them to look. Right. Which, leads us to this. If you could have a conversation with your younger self as a young preacher, what would you say to you?
Be a little more patient. That's that. Be a little more patient because, we get this drive in us. We want to go full steam ahead. And I learned over the course of my first 10 years of pastoring how God had to teach me patience. And it would come in God's own time. I couldn't get ahead of him. The old saint sang a song that said, "You can't hurry God." Yeah. You just have to wait. You have to trust him and give him time. Well, he's talking to the preacher, so the leader can experience that, so you can share that and model that and exhibit that to the followers. If followers see you patient, if followers see you trusting, if followers see you committed to the assignment that God has, he'll work out all the other teenage details. I had no clue, Claude, when I came back to Jacksonville. I thought I would go to heaven from the church I came back to, not knowing that God had set me up, to birth this ministry, And so I've had no repercussions. I've had no days of doubt. I just recognize this is my assignment in the earth. Even though I've got some things I want to do ambitiously, they got to wait, because of my assignment in the earth. I cut a CD and people thought I was going to be this gospel artist. No, I just did that because I wanted to be a minister to people. I didn't want to be a gospel entertainment artist. That's never been my ambition. My ambition was to share the gift that God has given me through music and let that be a blessing to people. But my assignment in the earth, I know why I was born, and that is to be one of God's under shepherds to lead his people.
I think that you said a mouthful, and I think one of the consistent phrases that I keep hearing is that assignment. And our young preachers that are watching, I really want you to lean in on that statement, trusting your assignment, because there's something that God wants to do when it is that you trust that assignment. I'm appreciative of you, Bishop, for sharing with us during this time and really encouraging our young preachers that are endeavoring to engage in church planting. My final question I would ask you, as you've done church planting successfully, Open Arms is a vibrant ministry. What advice would you give a young preacher that's praying about starting their own ministry but afraid of its longevity?
Well, the key is, did God speak to you to start? Again,
Talk a little bit
it has
about
to be
that.
assignment again before ambition. I've heard people say, I really feel led to pastor. Okay, is God laying the blueprint? Is He's giving you the template? Because if He has, the vision He's given you is going to come into play. People are going to sow into you unexpectedly in order for the assignment God has given you. You keep seeing me, it's an assignment.
Yeah.
Assignment He's given you to do this. I would have never stepped out and just started a church because I have this great gift or talent or ability to preach in the colloquial way that our culture understands. No, the only reason I did what I did is because of God's leading, and therefore I had to lean in real close to hear what He was saying about how He wants this congregation to be governed, that He wants this congregation to be stripped, because I really led a people out of Egypt into a wilderness almost, and I want them to be stripped of what they knew back there, so they can get a fresh view of me as we go forward.
Bishop, thank you for your imprint and all that you do. And what are some final words that you would share?
I would share to the young preacher, just wait on God, man. If it's authentic, if it's genuine, He is going to do what He needs to do to make the vision He's given you come to pass. Be consistent, be committed, and make sure that you follow the assignment, and God will do the rest.
Thank you so much for joining us for Pathways to the Pulpit. I hope and pray that each week that you're growing and it's challenging you, not just to I hope it's challenging you to stretch your thoughts and really think through where God is leading you. And again, thank you so much for engaging in this time of dialogue. Thank you so much, Bishop Thomas, for sharing with us.
Thank you.
And we'll see you next time.
Jeff Kennedy once said, ask not what your country can do for you, but ask what you can do for your country. All that is simply translated into is, I want to be here to help you grow. I want to grow with you. I want to be your partner as you're going through this process of the pathway. It's a journey. It's an experience, and we can grow together. Let's connect. Let's connect on social media. You can find me on platforms such as Facebook and Instagram at CDC2 Speaks. At CDC2 Speaks. I want to hear from you. I want to hear your stories. I want to laugh with you. I want to experience life with you. I want to grow with you as a young preacher. Let's grow together. I believe as we grow together, God has something amazing in store.
You have been watching Pathway to the Pulpit, hosted by Claude Douglas Cheatham Jr. of Edward Waters University. The program is designed to guide young clergy and HBU students to understand their divine assignment and maneuvering their pathway to destiny. For more information, you contact Claude Douglas Cheatham Jr. Edward Waters University, 1658 Kings Road, Jacksonville, Florida, 32209.
Dreaming about having your own podcast? Want to share your thoughts and ideas with the world but don't know how to do it? Maybe you're excited and committed but don't have a good space to record. Would you like a professional environment to produce all of your podcasts? Well, we have the latest technology from 4K to HD and various set layouts from green screen rooms to live studios. The Inspire Network is an actual television station where our studios are available for rent, and we offer editing suites with the latest technology. We have a makeup studio and beautiful spaces to prepare for your show. Don't forget to ask about our convenient photography studio to capture professional headshots or redefine your new look. Our state-of-the-art facility is intentionally laid out to accommodate your multimedia needs.
to sign up for this 2-day media camp that will offer advanced media technology training for creative minds. You will learn all the ins and outs of production and media. Go to www.learntv.today. Dr. Jackson and his team will bring 30 years of a wealth of knowledge to the table. Whether you're a beginner or advanced media professional, you will go to another level. Remember, there's limited space for this particular training.